Hello, my name is Patricia Diorio, and I am delighted to welcome you to a brand new show called Miracles and the Word. This has been a co-creation and a collaboration with my dear friend and spiritual colleague, Reverend Diane Lund. And Diane and I met on a summit, and I'm going to tell you that story in a minute. But right now, before I share that story and how we got started, I'd like to introduce Diane and have her share a little bit about her to you.
Thank you so much, Patricia. Yes, Patricia and I did meet on a summit, and she'll tell you the origin of miracles and the word. I represent the M in the M and W, which is miracles. I've been studying A Course in Miracles, um, over 30 years now. And I have to say, I was first given the book in the early 80s, and when I got it, I opened it up and went, oh, no, this looks like the Bible. It's full of Christian language, and there's no way. I actually put it on the shelf for almost 8 years before I opened it again. So I've been on a very long journey with A Course in Miracles from I hate this and I'm not going to read it to now I am a reverend specialized in A Course in Miracles. And that process came about very slowly. First, just as a student, giving study groups in my home, not because I knew more than anyone else, just because I wanted to study it and I couldn't find teachers in the area. So there was a lot of struggling along the way to understand its language because it can be quite um, verbose and a bit twisted. The concepts are generally upside down from the way we would think about them. So that's part of the reason we want to do this show, is to help you understand, how do miracles appear in your life? And I've had many wonderful miracles appear in my life, which has been the thing that has convinced me that when you work with this material, it shows up in miraculous ways. You want to pass that information on. So that's about the M. Why don't you tell us about the W, Patricia?
Okay. So the W is standing for a book called I Am the Word. And just like the Course in Miracles as a channeled document, a channeled piece of work, the word work is also channeled. It's channeled by a fellow by the name of Paul Selig. Perhaps you've heard of him. And although the Course in Miracles has been around for, well, you studied it for 30 years, Diane. So how long had it been around
Around
before that?
50. It's been around
50,
50 years.
50,
It came out in the 70s.
right. And
I
that.
first got the book in the 80s, but then I didn't open it again for 8 more years, as I said. So, yes.
And I also studied the Course in Miracles in the 80s. And like Diane said, it's a very intimidating body of work because um, it's not in your everyday kind of a language. It's more in an esoteric language, but it's a beautiful body of work. And I hadn't really met anyone on summits that were talking about channeled work. For the past 10 years, I've been working with I Am the Word, which, as I said, is a channeled work. That began in 2009 with Paul Selig, so it doesn't have the history that the Course has. But you know what? The messages in the Course in Miracles, in A Course in Miracles, and in the word work, I Am the Word, are really the same. And why Diane and I want to get together with you and share about this is for you to understand that it really doesn't make any difference what body of work you study. The messages are the same. And because so many of us are so different in this human experience that, every document or every body of work is not going to be for everybody. There are many different ways that we can wake up spiritually and become more conscious of our true nature. Now, perhaps the most powerful um, commonality or foundation for the Course in Miracles and for the word work, I am the word, which I'm going to refer to as the word work, is that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. We're spirit in the body. And people think, humanity, the majority of people think that they're human beings and they're here to uh, experience the material world. And whoever ends up with the most toys and money at the end wins. And of course, that's the opposite of why we're here. Um, Diane, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I 100% agree. We're human beings, not human doings. But in this physical plane, there's a lot of focus on what we do and who we are, what our jobs are, how much money we make, things like that, which is all about the doing part, where spirituality is about the being part. Who are we? We are at our essence an eternal spirit, an extension of God, and we are literally gods in the body. We are spiritual beings for a time enrobed in a physical body. And of course, we leave that body, and anybody who's seen a loved one pass on knows when the spirit leaves because it's so obvious. I just had that experience this weekend. My girlfriend lost her mom. Not that I saw her mom, but I know that experience of they're definitely gone. The spirit has left the body, or the spirit has left the room. And but that doesn't mean we still can't contact them or have relationships with them, which is maybe something we will talk about. So this program is focused on the spiritual, not the religious, the spiritual, because religion is about rules and regulations and buying into codes of conduct that are set up by the religion. You do this, you do this, you do this. And spirituality is about finding your own rules. It's about finding what works for you from a true spiritual essence. Does this really speak to me? And what I love about the word work is it says the same thing as A Course in Miracles, just in different language. And I think truth is truth. You should find it not just in A Course in Miracles, but you'll find it in nature. You will find it, in meditation. You will find it in the word work. So that's what we're here to talk about, is how the truth is everywhere.
And I think how it all came about is a miracle that I'm going to share about right now. So Diane and I both as spiritual teachers, facilitators, guides, call us what you will, speak on these summits. And summits are virtual experiences online where people have an opportunity to share about their work. And usually there's about 25 minutes each of us has. And I had been on several summits, and there was nobody on the summits that I was on that was talking about channeled work. So every time I started talking about the word work, I am the word, being a channeled text, I thought, gosh, talk about being a stranger in a strange land. There's nobody here that's even talking about that. And then one day on a summit, I heard Diane speak, and she said, well, I've been studying the Course in Miracles for 30 years. And I thought, oh my God, here's someone else who's talking about channeled work. And just as I said that, and the realization kind of landed in my heart, I heard this voice in my mind. I heard this voice say, um, you and Diane are going to do a show, and you're going to call it Miracles and the Word. Miracles and the Word. And I thought, wow. And I couldn't wait to talk with her, outside of the summit so we could actually discuss how we could move forward. So that's how we actually got started. What was your reaction, Diane, when I brought up the fact that I was stunned that you were doing channeled work on a summit as well?
Yeah, that actually hadn't occurred to me because I just started doing summits. So I really didn't know the lay of the land. You probably knew the lay of the land a little bit better than me. Yeah, I think for people who don't know, it's important to say that, yeah, Paul Selig channels the word, and the Course in Miracles was channeled by, suddenly her name has left my mind.
Helen Schuckman.
Helen Schuckman. Thank you so Helen Schuckman, yes, she channeled the work. And Helen was not Christian, she was Jewish. And she didn't consider herself religious or spiritual. She was a clinical psychologist, and she was quite worried that she heard this inner voice and this inner dictation, and she really didn't want to share it with anyone. She shared it with her colleague Bill Tefford for, I think they channeled, there's 3 books in Course in Miracles, the text, the manual for the teachers, and the 365 lessons. And I think it was 7 or 8 years before they told anyone. That's how much she wanted to keep it a secret. And her name doesn't appear on the books. Paul's name appears on the word books, but
Paul's
she
name
did not
appears in
want her name on the books because she was still, she said, I know this is the truth, but it's just too hard. I can't do it. It's too hard.
well, I
And
understand
it's
that
hard.
she was an atheist, wasn't she?
She was, yes. She considered herself an atheist. But she did believe the work that she was channeling was true.
And who was she actually channeling?
Well, she says it was the voice of Jesus. And he refers to his life in A Course in Miracles. And yeah, if you know anything about the Jewish culture, don't really recognize Jesus. So for her, that was quite an achievement to stick with it. And when she asked, why me? Why come through me? Uh, and the voice said, because we know you'll do it.
Yeah, I remember that. That always struck me because
Because
you
you'll do
knew
it.
you were doing.
And she
And
did. She stuck with it for a lot of years.
she did. And Paul Selig was a little history on him. He was a professor, tenured professor at NYU. He was a playwright, and he taught playwriting, and I believe he also did some performance work there. He was also he was associated with Goddard College in Vermont. I believe that he was in charge of their creative program, their creativity program. Anyway, he was an interesting fellow. And while he taught at NYU, what he did kind of as a side gig is he was an empath. So he would meet with people that wanted to work with him. And an empath is someone who is able to tune into the other person to um, to find out what they were feeling. An empath gets almost like inside of the other person, and they can actually determine what's going on emotionally for that person. And it can be very helpful. So he was doing this on the side, and he thought no one was aware of it, but people were aware of the fact that he had this spiritual side. Anyway, he had an experience when he was a young man where um, he was uh, I guess you might say, reaching out to the universe for help. And the answer came in his ability to tune into his spiritual essence so much that he was able to not just empathically pick up what was going on with people, but he would actually see light around them. He would see their auras. And for a year, I think you mentioned a year, Diane, that he had this experience that continued, and it was wonderful. He loved it. And then it went away, and he was upset about that. But later on, he was in meditation, and he heard, I know he was discussing writing a book with a colleague of his, and he heard in his mind, well, we also want to write a book. And we would like you to be the channel to it. I don't know the exact languaging there, but he agreed to be the channel for this first book called I Am the Word. And it was transcribed by his colleague, who at that time was a professor at in Stanford. And what was her name, Diane? Her name is escaping me now.
Oh,
Victoria.
Victoria. Yes, it was Victoria. That's right.
Miss
Yeah,
Victoria.
yeah.
And so he would hear information, and it would be recorded, and he would repeat it. He's an interesting channel in that most channels, if they're a conscious channel, meaning that they're awake and aware of what's going on, the information that they're hearing, um, uh, there are channels that are completely unconscious. They don't remember anything that goes on, but he's a conscious channel, as well as Helen Schuckman was a conscious channel. And they were able to get down in writing the messages from the guides. Now, Jesus was the author truly of A Course in Miracles. And the authors of the word work identify themselves as Melchizedek. And if you look up the word Melchizedek, it's associated with an order of spiritual beings that are not in physical form, but are master teachers who are working with humanity to help them to wake up. And master teachers would be Jesus and Buddha and Muhammad and many, many others who were the avatars in the very beginning of understanding spirituality. And now, today, we are the avatars because we're coming into alignment with our true self. And one of the main messages of the word work is that um, as we wake up to the truth of who we are, this is what they refer to as the second coming of the Christ. So we're coming into our Christed selves. And Jesus was spoken of as returning again, coming back, the second coming. And I always thought that was interesting. Well, how is he going to be coming? Is coming on a cloud? How would he be coming? Coming in the form of another person? Well, how Christ is coming to earth is through us waking up to the truth that we are that Christ, that we are that Christ consciousness.
Mhm. That's exactly what the Course in Miracles says, that the second coming of Christ is the coming of Him within us, that we wake up. And this is the time to wake up and to become conscious of who you truly are. We're not our personality selves, although my name is Diane Lund. Eternally, I am not Diane Lund. I am a spirit that will have many names, maybe many bodies, many forms over time. And we just get very attached. The ego gets very attached to when we're in body to the personality and the story that we create in this life. And that actually trips us up a lot. It actually holds us back because we really want to hang on to uh, the things that have tripped us and hurt us and made us who we are or who we think we are. And in fact, the Course in Miracles is about letting go of all of those ego beliefs and judgments about ourselves and returning to who we truly are at our essence, which is, as you say, the Christ consciousness. We are extensions of the consciousness that runs the universe. And you can call it God, or you can call it the universe, or you can call it source. I don't actually really care what people call it. What I care about is that they do recognize within themselves that they are a part of that. And that when we come from that part of ourselves, we open up, we surrender to that part that is the higher part, and miracles are allowed to come through us. And it's fascinating. I mean, we could call the story you told about us on the summit a miracle. You heard in your mind directions, and we followed it. And all through my life, I've heard inner directives that have told me. In fact, the way I came to A Course in Miracles, after I put it on the shelf for 8 years, uh, 8 years later, I was in a relationship that was really devastating, and I was in real pain, and I was, please, God, help me, please help me. And I was really praying. And I heard a voice in my inner being that said, look up. I looked up, there was the bookshelf. It said, take down the book. I knew exactly which book they were talking about.
Mhm.
I took down A Course in Miracles. I said, please, God, help me. I held the book and I opened it to a section on you basically cannot be hurt or unfairly treated. The idea that you are is the idea that something outside of yourself hurts you. And I was floored because that is exactly what I was experiencing. I was experiencing feeling unfairly treated. And to open exactly to that quote was a miracle.
Right.
And it started me going, holy moly, this stuff is powerful. I don't have a clue what they're saying. I didn't understand at all what that text meant, but I thought I better get myself to a study group and start the journey. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
So we both heard inner directives, and everybody can hear inner directives.
Right. And how, um, I didn't share a little bit about my background, but I will now. For many years, I was a social work administrator and in service to humanity and a teacher. And, at around age 50, I really felt that I wasn't doing the work that I came here to do. So I was able to then make changes in my life, and I became a spiritual counselor. My degree is in counseling, and I worked with people and helping them deepen their spiritual awareness. And I had been doing this work for a very long time. And on my 70th birthday, which was 10 years ago, a friend of mine came to me on my birthday and said, Patricia, you need to get this book. And I said, book? I need another book. Have you seen all the books that I have in my library on spirituality? Is there something new under the sun that I don't know about? He said, looked me right in the eye and he said, Patricia, get this book. And I went, what is the name of it? And he said, I am the word. Well, when he said, I am the word, I felt a feeling in my solar plexus. And that was unusual that I would feel that. And I thought, well, it's interesting. I'll check it out. So I called the local bookstore and I know the owner there. And I said, hey, Teresa, do you know about this book, I Am the Word? And she goes, never heard of it. Well, order it for me. So she ordered it and I picked up the book and I could actually feel the book. I could feel the energy in the book, which I had never really experienced before. And I could not, as I started to read it, the best way I can explain it to you is this. It was like I was dying of thirst. And this book was the sweetest, clearest, most thirst-quenching water I could possibly take in. And I could not get enough of it. I read the book 3 times the first year before I even saw Paul channel the information. So it's been a priority for me for the last 10 years, and it has been life-changing. And the fact that Spirit has brought Diane and I together to share about this work is going to give you an opportunity, perhaps, to check out miracles, to check out the show, Miracles and the Word, and also the Course in Miracles, A Course in Miracles. I always thought it was interesting, Diane, that it was not the Course in Miracles, it was A Course in Miracles. And of course, the illusion there is that there are many, many ways that we can wake up and become more conscious. And the guides um, say, one of the most important quotes, kind of tying back to what we were just discussing about God, they say, you cannot not be God. You cannot not be who you are. It's impossible because that's the truth of who you are. You can deny it. And when we deny it, that's the true atheism, they say. When we deny who we truly are, that is atheism. Any other way of looking at atheism is not actually correct because everyone is divine. Everyone is God in form, and you cannot not be that.
And that is very difficult for the ego to accept, that everyone is God, because the ego wants to judge everything. It wants to put it in categories: right, wrong, up, down, good, bad. And so we look at each other, and because we each have bodies, we think we are separate from each other. And because we think we are separate from each other, we project our judgments on each other. And we want to keep ourselves safe, and we want to make sure that the other person doesn't take from us or get something from us or get ahead of us. And it creates all these judgments, and all of these judgments create pain. And the pain is all centered around the idea of separation. And that's what we want to talk about during this show too. We want to talk about, we aren't separate beings. We may look like we're separate, but we are connected by our eternal spirit. That's where we're one. We're one in our eternal spirit. And when we hurt another, we really, in essence, hurt ourselves.
Mm.
And so this is something that people don't understand. If they understood this simple point, that you want to hurt someone else, or you don't want to be nice, or you want to judge them, you are literally doing it to yourself.
Mhm.
And so freedom from pain, freedom from feeling as I felt when I first came to Course in Miracles, unfairly treated. And I think everyone's had that experience of feeling unfairly treated. Learning how to move beyond that. That's just core. It's core for releasing us to the glory of who we truly are and not covering it over with judgments and pain. We want to release people from pain.
And I want to address this concept of God and religion. No, many of us were raised in religions, and for me, it was Catholicism, and it was a lot of dogma. And I was raised in the 50s with it, so it's different today. Although it's still structured, it's very different. And I was plugged into belief systems about myself that were not true. That belief systems that we were all sinners and separate from God, and God was up there, out there, calling the shots. And we were in this human experience trying to figure it all out. Well, the thing is this, that we're all connected in the web of life, and we're all connected as spirit. And we are that, we are God. And I know it sounds almost arrogant to say that, but we are that unlimited, unknowable, unnameable, ineffable being that is referred to as God. But as Diane was saying, we could call it anything. We could call it source, force, universe, Uncle Charlie. It doesn't really make any difference what we call it. It is who we are, and we're not separate. The thing is that we appear to be separate, but each of us is a unique expression of that divine self, that divine, that God self. Each of us is a unique expression in physical form. So there's nobody like anybody on the planet. But when you remove the human experience in the body, there's no disconnection, there's no separation. We're all one. We're all one. And this unity is what's so important right now. The world is in such a turmoil with what's going on that it's critical for us to come together and be united in knowing that we're all spirit in the body and that we're all interconnected in the web of life. And further, that we have this innate immeasurable power to create our reality, which we're doing all the time. And coming right back to the miracles, and that when we live our life as though everything is a miracle, then miracles happen in our lives.
And miracles, really, from a point of view of A Course in Miracles, it's not miracles are like, oh my God, this wondrous, amazing thing, I turned my water into wine. It isn't that magnificent. I mean, that is a miracle for sure. But A Course in Miracles says that a miracle, as it defines it, is a shift in perception. So it's changing our minds about things because where we experience all pain is here, it's in our minds. It's the stories we tell ourselves. And so when our stories are based in fear, based in negative thinking, we hurt ourselves. We don't think we're hurting ourselves. We think someone else is hurting us. And we're just thinking those thoughts because that person didn't treat me fairly or whatever it was. But the fact of the matter is that we are connected, as you said. We are all connected. And so we really want to focus on how do we shift our mindset? How do we shift our perception? A miracle is a shift in perception from thinking from fearful, negative thinking to thinking loving, positive thoughts. So it's really an inside job.
It's an inside job,
An
exactly.
inside job. And a miracle is a shift in perception from thinking negative, fearful based thoughts to thinking loving, positive based thoughts. And so throughout this series, what we're going to do is we're going to look at, like right there, I'm just talking about what does a miracle mean? We're going to talk about the way the Course and the Word talks about various different subjects and how, although it uses very different language, it basically is the same message because as we started out in the beginning saying, truth is truth.
Mhm.
Truth is truth. And different people, it's just like different people, different comedians will make you laugh. Some, some maybe won't make you laugh and others will. Why is that? It's just how it hits us personally. So we want to show that the truth is out there. Wasn't that a TV show? The truth is out there.
Probably.
It was a line from a famous TV show, The Truth is Out There. And, talk about various different topics like love or relationships or, career or working, doing versus being. We're going to talk about them from the perspective both of A Course in Miracles and of the Word. And so each of the shows will kind of have a theme.
Right. And, in relationship to um, miracles, I just want to say that in the word work, uh, the message is that we are ascending, that as we do the work, we're actually ascending, we're increasing our vibrational frequency in the body. And, I don't know about you, but ascension in my vocabulary growing up was you would drop the body and then your soul would ascend. But this is now humanity is really ready to ascend while in the body. And what they say is that as we ascend, our perception changes, tying it right back to Diane, what Diane just said. A miracle is a change in perception. So when you're doing the word work, you're actually raising your vibration, and automatically your perception changes and you see things differently. Your life is different. People will start leaving your life, will start coming into your life. Things will start, opportunities for you will happen that or like miracles because we're actually lifting our vibrational frequency to a positive frequency. When we're ensconced and lost in our human experience, we're vibrating usually at low frequency because the mind is in control. But when we can really recognize that we're spirit in the body and that we're ascending while we're in the body, we can change our lives in dramatic ways. And that's what Diane and I want to do over this next period of time. We're going to be doing a show every week, and we're going to be discussing a different topic that will be relevant to all of us.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to that. And so, as we just wrap this up, Patricia, I know you like to pull tarot cards from the Voyager Tarot. Another interesting fact about Patricia and I is we both have been reading the Voyager Tarot for over 30 years. Like, I have not met another person that read that deck as long as I have. And so, that's also just another thing. I do have my miracle cards, and I love to pick them and share as kind of a wrap up to my courses I often teach. And I know you love to pick tarot. So I was thinking at the end of each show, we would pick a card and share uh, that as a way to end the show. What do you think, Patricia?
I think it's a great idea, except that I didn't bring my cards in front of me, but I will get them.
Okay.
Give me one moment here.
Okay. And in the meantime, I will share this card, which I picked from the cards that I've created. And it says, Love has no darkened temples where mysteries are kept obscure and hidden from the sun. It does not seek for power, but for relationship. So I'll read that one more time because it's a powerful quote. Love has no darkened temples where mysteries are kept obscure and hidden from the sun. It does not seek for power, but for relationship, because we are all in relationship together. We are all in this oneness together. And we don't want to have any darkened temples where mysteries are kept obscure. We're bringing everything to the light. That's what this show is about.
Bringing everything.
Enlightening you. And so, Patricia, what have you got?
I have my Voyager Tarot cards here. This is the deck that Diane and I have been working with for 30 years.
I know, hard to believe.
And it was one of the things that we discovered that we had in common, which was another major aha for us. So at the end of every show, I'll pick a card, and this will be a message from the divine, from spirit, from all those guys that are working with us. Also from our own God self, if our own God self had a message for us, what would that be? What message would that be? Ah, guardian. Whoops. Guardian. Guardian is the royal family card to the priestess. And it's really about keeping your thoughts positive. It's about, you see this jewel at the top of her head here? God.
Inner third eye, yes.
And the third eye. That represents keeping our thoughts positive. That represents guarding against negative thoughts that will pull us down into fearful feelings and into being stressed out in life. Where if we can guard against negative thoughts, and then when we catch a negative thought, we can change it to a positive thought, that's going to shift our vibration. So I think what our guides are giving us now is this as a message to pay attention to what you're thinking. And when you have a negative thought, uh, guard it, change it, guard your mind from negative thinking
Mm,
and move into a positive place.
absolutely. That is what this work is about. How do we change our mind? Because people say, well, just change your mind. Yeah. How do we do that? Well, we have choice, and lots of times we think we don't have a choice. And what we're going to look at is how we do have choice. We have choice in every situation as to how we respond or not. So, anyways, let's just end by giving our website so people can check us out. Mine is miraclesandwonders.ca because I am here in Vancouver, Canada. And Patricia, you're in the States. Tell us about yours.
My website is alignwithdivine.net. Surprised? Align with the Divine. I used to have a website called Practical Spirituality, which is really what I'm up to. But now Align with the Divine is my new website because I am committed to not only aligning myself with my divine self, aligning myself with the God that I am, but also helping you to come into alignment with who you are as the divine being that's showing up as who you think you are.
Okay, well, that sounds like a perfect way to end this first show. I hope you will continue to tune in and namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, Diane, and thank you all for watching. Bye bye.